A very warm welcome to everyone. Thank you, Wonder Woman Connect, for giving me this opportunity again. Uh, the last time I came live on Wonder Woman Connect was in December with winter vegetables and other things, growing, making your garden green. And this time it's a different topic, herbs and microgreens. So, a lot of us have got into gardening post the pandemic, and a lot of us have realized the value of growing things at home. So, let me start by a little introduction of herbs. What are herbs? So, herbs are plants which you can grow in small pots, big pots, shallow pots, various types of pots. They can be annuals, they can be perennials. Now, what do we mean by annuals and what do we mean by perennials? So, annuals are plants which you need to plant each year, and perennials are which last you forever. Of course, you need to take care of them. So, annuals, most of the herbs are annuals. Now, we always have a paucity of space in a urban city like Delhi. So, herbs is a very good option to grow. Why? Because you don't need to grow them in large quantities like vegetables. And they can be grown in small nooks and corners, in your balconies, in your staircase or your windowsill or your kitchen sill, even in your dining table or a console table. And you just need one or two pots of each type of herb. So there is a wide variety of herbs to choose from. So I'll be talking about how to grow them, what are the various types of herbs, what care you need, what is the kind of potting mix. So let's start with the basic. Herbs require sunlight, which is just about 2 to 3 hours of direct sunlight or indirect sunlight. They don't like the harsh sun, and this is the perfect time to get them started. So herbs do well with very little care. And how do we grow them? So you can grow them from seeds, you can grow them from saplings. Saplings can be bought from nurseries. You can even grow them from cuttings. Not all herbs grow from cuttings. Some can grow from cuttings as well. From seeds may not be a very good idea for beginners because the seed germination is quite slow. Some of them germinate pretty fast, but those are some exceptions. So best is to get a sapling and nurture it. Now, what is the location? Location, as I've already mentioned, you can grow them even on your dining table. You can grow them in your corner. You can grow them in the staircase. But of course, it should get some indirect sunlight as well. There should be certain air circulation. Not that there is no air circulation at all. You can grow them in your balconies. And you can even grow them in your kitchen windowsill. And if you have a terrace, wonderful. Open space is the best for it. But make sure that they are not in the harsh sun. Now, what kind of containers do we use for herbs? Now, there are various types of containers. You have the earthen pots, you have the ceramic pots, you have plastic containers, you have cement pots. What is the most suitable for herbs? Cement certainly is a no-no. Why? Because they are heavy to lift. It's not a do-it-yourself kind of thing. And it provides very little aeration. Now, one thing is that herbs have very fibrous roots and very delicate roots. So they don't like the soil to be waterlogged. So cement pots do not offer too much of aeration. Same is with ceramic pots, but since ceramic pots are smaller, you can control the watering and you can pick them up from here and there, keep moving them, shifting the space. So it's much easier. So we have the earthen pots or the terracotta pots. Terracotta pots again are a little heavy, so I'm not too much in favor of terracotta pots. So we have the shallow trays and we have the plastic pots and ceramic pots. Ceramic pots look very beautiful and they are great for beautifying your interiors as well. And if you just have a get together or even in your daily routine, if you have these growing on your dining table in small pots, you can just pluck them and add them directly to your dishes, which looks nice as well. So that is the benefit of growing in ceramic pots. What size of pots is about 6 to 8 inches, not too deep, not too shallow. That's the beginning. You can grow them in even deeper pots, 10 inches, 12 inches, depending on what size of plant you have. So that's about the containers. You can even grow them in small cane baskets and even in small plastic containers or the plastic pots. Now, what kind of potting mix should you use for these herbs? I use a very simple potting mix, which is equal parts of garden soil, coco peat, and compost. The soil should be light and porous, and it should be it should not be too dense, because as I mentioned earlier, the roots are quite fibrous and thin, so they need space to spread. Now, garden soil we all have. Coco peat is readily available in the form of bricks in the market. You just have to soak it in water, and it swells up to 5 times its volume. Just sun dry it a bit. Add an equal part. And compost. Compost again is readily available in the market. Many of you would be doing home composting, so home compost is good as well, or vermicompost. Many people ask me gobar ki khad. Yes, gobar ki khad is excellent for the plants provided it is matured properly. If it is not mature, then it has a certain amount of heat and the plant may not survive. So you have to be very careful. But vermicompost usually is fully mature and it does not give a problem. So equal parts of this. You needn't add anything else. If you have neem khali, great. If you can just add a spoonful of it. If you have wood ash, you can add that as well. Just mix them up, fill up your pots. The lowest layer should be of gravel or broken pieces of pot to facilitate good drainage. After that, just fill up the pot with this soil and you're good to go. Now, if you are planting from seeds, ideally you should sow your seeds in a shallow tray. And once the plants are about 2 to 3 inches in height, then they are suitable for transplant to a big pot. The benefit of sowing from seeds and then transplanting is that the survival rate is better. And secondly, when you are sowing seeds, multiple seeds might germinate faster and you can take better care of them. They can be kept under shade, they can be watered lightly with the help of a spray bottle, and then later on when they are sturdy enough, they can be transplanted. Now, how to care for them? Herbs don't require too much of care. They are not huge feeders. So you just need to add a handful of compost once every month. And just add that compost. Watering is light. It varies from plant to plant. Some plants require more watering, some require less watering. So based on the needs of the plant, usually herbs, not being large feeders or not being grown in winters, they don't require too much of water. A simple thumb rule is when you touch the surface of the soil, it should not be too wet. If it is slightly moist, you just need to sprinkle a little. If it is dry, yes, water it a little better. Best time for watering is evening or early morning, as is with all plants. Sorry. Next, that's about the care of plants. Now, what kind of herbs can you grow? So, summer herbs we have mint or pudina. How can you grow them? You can grow them very easily from cuttings. Just buy a few a bunch from the market, pluck the leaves, put the stems in water, they will leave roots, and then you can transplant them into your soil. Then we have celery, we have dill, we have parsley, we have oregano, sage, marjoram, thyme, ample number. All of these can grow at home. You even have the perennial ajwain. Now, ajwain is a slight misnomer. It's not the same ajwain that we use in our kitchens, but it still goes by that name. That is a perennial which you can grow always. Then we have lemongrass, we have lemon balm. Lemongrass again is a perennial. Lemon balm is seasonal, and we have chives and so on and so forth. So, but an important point when you decide to grow herbs is, what do you consume? You should know how to use them. Just growing them is not enough, or growing them is not sufficient. It's not just for the beauty, it's also for the usage. So you can use these herbs fresh, you can use these herbs dried. Because since most of them are annuals, they are not available to us throughout the year. So how do we preserve them? We can preserve them in a number of ways. We can simply pluck them from the stems, tie them in a bunch and hang them to dry. But make sure they are washed well before drying, so that once they are dry, the leaves don't have the dust. An important herb that I forgot to mention is basil. Basil we all use to make pesto in our Italian, and we have the various types of basil. We have the holy basil or tulsi. We have the Thai basil, the lemon basil, camphor basil, so on and so forth. So ample variety that we have to choose from when it comes to herbs. I was talking about preservation. So one way I told you was to tie the stems in a bunch and then just hang them till they dry out and pluck the leaves and keep them. Second is you can pluck the leaves, wash them well and dry them on a cloth. Never dry the leaves in sun because they will turn the color of the leaves darkish brown or black, and we never like to use that. If you are sun drying them, make sure to cover them with a cloth, a cotton cloth. And still I would recommend keep them in partial shade or in indirect sunlight, and you can store them. You can also make flavored salts with them. You can store them in oil and make flavored oils with these herbs. They do very well. The flavored oils can be used for cooking. Make sure that these flavored oils you're using as a garnish or as a dressing and not using them for cooking food. That is a basic difference. So talking about that, protection, I've already said you need to protect them from direct sun. Yes, harsh winds spoil the leaves, they lose their freshness. So it should not be kept in, the herb should not be kept in any windy spaces. They should be kept away where they do not get too much of wind. I've already talked about the soil mix, watering, light and sun, and seeds or sapling, and harvesting. Yes, I've told them. Best is to use a sharp scissors to cut them from the bottom, or you can pluck them with your hands as well. The more you cut the herbs, the better they grow, contrary to popular belief. So the moment the stem is about 5 to 6 inches, you can pluck the top 2-3 inches and leave another 2 to 3 inches, of course with a few leaves. Don't cut off all the leaves at once, and use them. So what is the ideal time for cutting? Once you know that your plant is stable, once you know that it has about 5-6 stems, or maybe just 2-3 stems as well, and it is stable, that it will not die out, that's the time you can start harvesting. Harvesting means cutting it for use, and make sure that you never cut more than 2/3 of the plant at one go, because if you cut more than 2/3, there is a chance that your plant may not survive. So it's very important to know the right way of harvesting them as well. And how do you use them? I've already told you. You can use them as even in your chutneys, you can use them as garnishes, you can use them as you use your other spices in your Italian, in your Mexican, in your Indian cooking, and you can store them. Best way to store them is in glass containers, airtight containers, so that they don't lose their fragrance and they don't lose their flavor. Now some herbs cannot be stored, or even if you store them, they will not have that kind of flavor or aroma. Basil is one of them. But the plus point with basil is that it's a perennial, which means you don't have to grow it again and again. And basil is a great herb to grow in your gardens because it's a great pest repellent. It's a great attractor of bees and butterflies as a pollinator, especially for your summer vegetables. But yes, it's a little invasive. By invasive, I mean once you grow a basil, there is every possibility, almost every pot will have a basil plant. So you are free to distribute amongst friends and family. Once you have abundant basil, make pesto, use it in chutneys, use the leaves for your salads, and so on and so forth. So like I said, you should know the usage. We have another very versatile herb, the ajwain patta. You can even use them in your parathas. So ajwain patta, you can make pakoras. You can even dry them and keep them. Drying them is a bit cumbersome. So what you can do is, because the leaves are very fleshy, which means they have a large water content. So just pluck the leaves, wash them well, and either run them in the microwave to basically dry them out, and then sun dry them, keeping it covered with a cloth. It takes a lot of time to dry the ajwain leaves. The other way is you can also dry them in a rotator oven. This is a special kind of an oven which has a fan and which runs on very low temperature and is specifically for drying leaves and herbs, chilies, lots of things. But if you have a normal OTG, you can just switch it on, let the thermostat be on, switch it off, it'll be warm inside. Place your plate or tray inside that, let it dry out a bit, then again once or twice just repeat the same exercise till they are dry and store them. And ajwain leaves taste great. This is very close to the flavor of oregano. It's not a replacement for oregano as many people say, and many people have seen the tutorials on YouTube as well. But yes, it is close to it and it's highly flavorful. You can use them in your raitas. Pudina, of course, we all dry and keep in summers, and they are great in parathas. We use them fresh, we use them in raitas, we use them in salads, and many other things, even for golgappe ka pani. So that we can use fresh as well. But pudina has a tendency to not survive in winter. So don't be disheartened, because again, pudina is an annual. It is not a perennial. So talking about, then we have the slightly difficult ones, the sage and the marjoram, which are a little difficult to dry. Another great use of herbs is herbal infusions or herbal teas. All these, especially lemon balm, rosemary, thyme, they taste great as herbal teas or infusions. And of course, they have immense health benefits. So don't ignore the health benefits of all those herbs. And all you need is just one small pot of each of these herbs to grow at home. And just take your pick, which one you want to grow, which one is most frequently used in your house, but be experimental too. Try out one or two new ones. Oregano is the most common, which we all use and we are all on the lookout for. And oregano is quite easy to grow, not very difficult. We have the chives. Chives are very easy to grow. Chives is basically, the leaves have the flavor of either onion or garlic, depending on what chives they are, but they don't have the bulb of the onion or the garlic. And it has a very delicate flavoring. So chives are great in salads, they are great as a garnish, and they are again perennials. They are not annuals. So they are there with you. Then you have ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is a great herb to grow. Again, it's a perennial. It's not an annual. So it can keep growing. You can it's also called the Indian red cherry. It has immense health benefits. You can use the leaves for herbal infusions. You can use it as a normal herb. You can just add a few leaves to your vegetables, to your dals especially, and use them. And it's a very hardy plant, not very difficult to take care of. So lot of these herbs aid in digestion. They are mood elevators. They uplift you from depression, anxiety, stress, lots of other things. So that was more about herbs. If anyone has any queries, we can take them later on in the chat box. Now I'll come to microgreens. So microgreens has been of lot of interest to a lot of people, especially post the lockdown since last year, since the pandemic. Now why microgreens and what are microgreens? So microgreens are basically the small shoot that we see once the seed germinates and it has sprouted 2 to 3 leaves. So many people ask me, it's the same as sprouts. Well, no. Sprouts are very different from microgreens. I'll go to the differences a little later. First, what is microgreen? So microgreen is the tiny shoot which is about 2 to 3 inches with 2 to 3 true leaves, which the seed has sprouted. And how do we grow the microgreens? That demo I will give in the latter part. So why is it of so much of importance? Because it is nutrient dense. It is said to have 40% more nutrition than the actual vegetable itself. So most of the microgreens that we grow are vegetable microgreens. There are certain microgreens that we don't grow, which again I will come upon a little later. But most of the vegetables can be grown as microgreens. What is the benefit? It has all the flavor and it has 40% more nutrition than the original vegetable that we are planning to grow. For example, I'll take, if we have a cabbage microgreen or if we have a carrot microgreen or a radish microgreen, the microgreen will taste very close to the original one with higher nutrition. Just that tiny bit. Secondly, why is it important? Because it's eaten raw. We never cook microgreens. And raw food should be an important part of our diet. Raw food gives us flavor, it gives us fiber and immense health benefits. So microgreens is very important. Secondly, growing microgreens is very simple. It's almost akin to child's play. And you can grow it even if you don't have space. Like I mentioned in my herbs, why I chose herbs and microgreens? Because they complement each other very well. We don't need large spaces for them. We can keep them anywhere in small boxes. So I'll just show you. We have a few containers. This mushroom box we all know, so I've made a few holes. You can grow it in this. These are fruit boxes. You can grow it in this or slightly bigger ones or even these. So these are various types of containers. They hardly have any depth requirement, so to say. You can grow them in permanent containers as well, but I would not advise them because this is easy. This is recycling them and easier to put them to use. So now coming back to the difference between sprouts and microgreens. First of all is sprout is just when the seed germinates and a tiny shoot appears. That is a sprout. Microgreen is the next level when it throws up its true leaves. 2 leaves, 3 leaves, 4 leaves. That is a microgreen. Secondly, the medium. Now sprouts, we just soak the seeds in water, keep it overnight, drain it out, and then again leave it to sprout. And it roughly takes about 24 hours for the seeds to germinate or sprout. And that is sprouting. And we eat them either steamed. Usually we do not eat them raw. Whereas microgreens, so the time taken is roughly 24 hours to 48 hours depending upon the season. Whereas in microgreens, it takes a minimum of 4 to 5 days and it can go up to 10-12 days. Why? Because we need a shoot as well. So that is about one difference. Now the medium. Sprouts don't require any other medium, like we just soak them in water and after that we leave them to grow. But the microgreens will require a medium. Medium can be anything. You can grow them on a tissue paper. I'll demonstrate a little later here. The normal kitchen towel. You can even grow them on cloth, or you can grow them on soil. The choice is yours. Depending upon how you want to harvest and how you want to use, you can select the medium or whatever is convenient to you. Microgreen sprouts, on the other hand, don't require any medium. Thirdly is the watering requirement. While we soak the seeds for sprouting, for microgreens we require very little water, only a little amount of moisture that the medium remains to keep moist. For sprouts we don't need sunlight. For microgreens we need a little amount of sunlight. Not all seeds can be sprouted to be eaten as sprouts, whereas many other seeds, even the tiniest of seeds, can be used to grow microgreens. So you have a much wider array when it comes to microgreens. And secondly, of course, the most important part, that they give more nutrition than the sprouts. So we've talked about now one thing important is what kind of seeds do we use for microgreens. Many times I get many queries that can we use the seeds that are available in the market? Yes, you can, but you have to tell the shopkeeper that you need seeds for microgreens, because most of the seeds that we get in the market are poison treated. Why are they poison treated? They are coated. Many times, if you would open a seed packet, you would find them in bright colors. You would find them either blue or red or pink or a silvery coating. They have been coated with a chemical to prevent them from decaying or catching fungus or any other pest. But are these seeds suitable for consumption? No. These seeds are not suitable for consumption. These seeds can be grown into full grown plants where you are going to harvest the fruit, which is going to take 3 months at least, 2 to 3 months. But for microgreens, which you are going to harvest the shoot and eat the shoot, these poison treated seeds are absolute no-no. So you must tell the shopkeeper or wherever you are sourcing the seeds from that you need the seeds for growing microgreens. And they would be coming in larger quantities in larger packets, known as microgreen seeds. Now the best way is to get started from your kitchen. I wish this was an interactive session so I could see and take a feedback from others about what all you can grow. So I have a few seeds here which I'm going to show you. This is a tray which I've kept. I'm going to hold it up. So here I have the dhania seeds. These you can grow into microgreens. Of course, they take very long to sprout, so it's not very advisable, but yes, you can. Then we have the dana methi. I have the sarson. You can even use kalonji. Now, sometimes when you use seeds from your kitchen, the germination may not be that good or they may not sprout very well. So don't think that it's because they are from the kitchen, you can't, the result is not that good. The reason is when these seeds come to us for use in the kitchen, many of them, when they are harvested in the fields, to separate the chaff or the coating or the covering on the seeds, they use mild heat treatment. And using the mild heat treatment kills the germinating capacity of these seeds. Hence, you need to be very careful. So don't be disappointed if your kitchen seeds don't germinate so well. Do go ahead and try. After all, gardening is all about experimenting. There are no thumb rules, there are no set rules. Everyone's experience is different. My experience would be very different from somebody else's, and it's always good to learn. And my previous experience may be different, my present experience may be very different. So it's always good to try. So these are few from your kitchen. More on microgreens, the seeds that you can grow is, here I have is sabut urad dal. I have sabut moong. And I have moat. I even have wheat. Wheat, which we commonly known as wheatgrass, or we even grow during the Navratras. So what is wheatgrass? Wheatgrass, if you harvested it early, that's again a microgreen. Many people have been growing wheatgrass for wheatgrass juice, and it has immense health benefits. You can even dry it and powder it and keep. It has been a great lifesaver for increasing platelets, especially in dengue times. So wheatgrass is a great microgreen to grow with. So actually we have all been growing microgreens, except that it was not given this name. Jaware to hum log hamesha ugate hi aaye hain navratron mein, since decades, ages. It's only that now we have discovered or learned how to grow other seeds as well. And how do we grow them? It's a very simple process, nothing complicated. You can even follow it later on if in case you have any queries, you can connect with me. So I'm going to show you. Again, I use a very simple soil mix. Here I have coco peat or coconut husk powder. This comes in the form of bricks. You have to soak it in water and just sun dry it a bit to loosen it up. Here is compost. This is my homemade compost. You can even use vermicompost or leaf mold if you have. But only thing is it should be fine. It should not be very thick. And here is garden soil. Any of your pots. So equal quantities, just mix it up. Like I showed you the container. Now this has holes. These are the mushroom boxes. We all use mushrooms and we all order fruit. So this is the best way to put them to good use. Just make a few holes. Why the holes? To facilitate drainage. Now, if you're filling in with soil, just fill it in with a 1-inch layer. You don't need a thicker layer than this. If you see, this is a very thin layer. So just put a thin layer, just use a spray bottle like this, moisten the soil. Now, if you want better or faster germination, I would recommend soak the seeds. Soak them overnight or soak them for 3-4 hours. Drain them, spread them onto the soil. Now they need to be very densely placed. So I'm just going to show you. So here I've taken an equal quantity of all 3 here, made a very thin layer. I'm going to just, if I can just turn the camera a bit here, I'm just going to spray gently just to moisten it up. And next I'm going to place the seeds a bit densely. So I'm taking this gehu seeds a little so that it's a little visible due to the color difference. Just tap it with the back of your hand. Here, as dense as this. Now once you've done this, this needs to be covered as well. So I'm going to cover it again with a thin layer of soil so that the seeds are not visible. And why is that? Because this will facilitate, once they sprout, you want them to be stable, you want them to be anchored, and you want them to germinate faster. Here, I've covered them with, and again I'm going to spray them with water. I'm not going to water it very well or soak it in water, but just moist enough to hold it in place here. So there is no excess water. In case there is, of course, it will drain from the bottom. Next, what you do is just cover it with a newspaper or with a cloth like this and keep it for a couple of days till the time you see germination is happening. You can open it once in a while to check on it and then put it back again. Now once you see the shoot is about 2 inches long and it's about to sprout leaves, that's the time you can take away the cover. No need to keep it covered. Ideal to cover it is with newspaper. Now if you're using boxes like these, this already has a lid and these are most suitable. This has holes also at the bottom, and since this has a cover, this facilitates very fast germination. So these are most suitable. You can even take the takeaway boxes. They also come with lids. In case they don't have lids, don't fret over it. These are equally handy and equally good for germination of microgreens. And very soon you will see those shoots sprouting and very densely. Now when you are growing them on paper or when you are growing them on cloth, you can just pull them out, wash them and use them along with the root or along with the seed. But once you're growing them in soil, you will have to wash them very well so that you're not eating up bits of the soil. So washing becomes a challenge. So in that case, cutting them with a sharp scissors is always better. So you can, it's your choice how you want to grow. You want to grow them on a cloth or you want to grow them on a paper, or you want to grow them in soil. Now once you've grown them and once you've harvested them or cut them or even pulled them out, they will not grow again. You need to regrow them. This is the only flip side of microgreens, that it requires a larger number of seeds and you need to keep growing it. Once grown, you can't stop at it. Whereas for other vegetables, full grown vegetables, once you've grown the plant, till the time it is around, for example, a big plant, you don't need to grow it again and again. Now there are certain exceptions. Almost all plants can be grown as microgreens, but there are certain exceptions. What are these exceptions? We call them the nightshade plants. What comes under this? like the brinjal, the chilies, the tomatoes. None of us want to taste these as microgreens as well. And plus, they are not supposed to be edible. But rest are all grown as microgreens and eaten as microgreens. It can be salads, it can be radish, it can be carrot, it can be palak, methi, dhania, it can be dals. A whole array of vegetables is available to you for growing as microgreens. So I think that's from my end. I wish I could share my screen, but unfortunately I can't, else I would have shared a few pictures. So I'm just going to go through the comments. And hi Alpana, Manjuji, hi. Hi Meenakshi, hi Poonam. Thank you. Yes, these plants have been indoor with me for over a year now. So Sonal is asking, are these all types, just a minute, I missed it. Are these all types available at Bhogal? Generally get all manure and compost from there. Yes, they are available at Bhogal. You have shops in Achini also. And recently I attended a session by the Seed Man of India, Dr. Prabhakar Rao. And he is a person who has been stressing on saving desi seeds. And you can source them from him as well, because desi seeds have the advantage that they are not poison treated, or they are not, you can use them for microgreens, you can use them for big plants. So his, you can do a Google search on Dr. Prabhakar Rao. His company goes by the name of Haryali Seeds, and his seed quality is very good. And once you have seeds, there's no looking back. You can save your own seeds as well for future. But for those in Delhi, you have ample shops in Achini, you have ample shops in Bhogal, Jamrudpur, South Delhi particularly, I'm talking of, where you can get all these seeds. Hello Kavita, hello Renuji. Thank you Poonam. I'm glad you derived value out of it. Thanks Ritu Dhawan, Poonam, Khetarpal Sachdeva, thank you very much. So if anybody has any queries or any questions, you are free to reach out, and please do go through my YouTube channel as well. This recording will be available on the YouTube channel of Wonder Woman Connect as well, so for later on as well, and you are most welcome to reach out to me. You can reach me through any medium, just type my name Amita Bhuvania and you would get all options. I would be more than happy to help, and I wish I could share pictures, because today there's another device that I'm using and I could not save the pictures on this device, else I would have loved to share pictures of my microgreens and my garden and the various containers that I grow them in. But you're most welcome to come and have a look at my garden or my greens. And this is just the first step. This is to introduce you to gardening. Start with microgreens, start with herbs, then take the next step. Go on to vegetables, some bit of it, start growing in your garden. Go on and start composting as well. And it is going to be a wonderful journey where you're never going to look back. And it's going to be highly satisfying as well. Thank you, Arpana. Thanks again to Wonder Woman Connect for giving me this wonderful opportunity. It's a great platform, and we've had some great learning with previous speakers as well. And we look forward to many more. Always glad to be part of it. Have met some wonderful people through this forum, through this platform. So, that's all from now, for now, from my end. Thank you very much. Any more questions coming in? No, I don't think anyone. Thanks to everyone for joining in. Thanks once again. Bye-bye.